Hello, everyone. Mike Starks with Remax Town & Country here with the 2024 year-end real estate market report for Fredericksburg, Texas, and Gillespie County. And I guess if I had to sum up the real estate market for 2024, the word I would use is dull. We had a few highs, a few lows, but really nothing terribly shocking, good or bad. So as always, let's get straight to the raw data by taking a look at the total sales of real estate in all of Gillespie County for 2024. So for 24, we'd sold about $337 million worth of real estate in all of Gillespie County. You compare that to 2023 when we'd sold $342 million. That makes the total dollar volume down just a modest 3.1%, with the total number of individual properties sold in Gillespie County showing a similar decrease. We'd had 437 individual transactions happening in 24 and 451 individual transactions happening in 2023. So that's down about 6.9%. So really nothing shocking when we're looking at this year compared to last year. But now, if it seems like there's a lot of stuff on the market and things are just not as busy as they used to be, that's because if we look back to, say, our record year of 21, we'd sold 919 individual properties and $541 million worth of real estate. So that equates to about a 52% drop in the total number of units we were selling back in Gillespie County in our record year. And I think it's going to be a while before we break our 2021 record. But the good news is even with the big reduction in overall volume from the peak of 21 and 22, Gillespie County is really blessed because our prices are really holding up pretty well. Now, of course, like most of the nation, we're seeing a slight decrease in some of our categories just because of supply. And one of those categories being single-family residential homes in town. And that's obviously my segue into talking about homes in the city limits. So for 2024, we'd sold a little over $89 million worth of homes in the city limits. You compare that to 2023, where we'd sold $92 million worth of real estate. Again, we see a slight decrease, just 2.84% from the previous year, with the total number of individual homes being sold. 160 homes in 2024, 165 homes in 2023. So again, modest decrease, 3.3%. Now, in-town home sales have probably been one of the most sluggish segments of our market, and that has resulted in a slight decrease in prices. First, if we just talk about the average price of a home, in 2023, we ended at $558,458. And in 2024, we ended the year with the average home price being $559,525. So that's a slight little bump of 0.19%. But, if you listen to this very often, I consider the price per foot a much better metric than the total price, simply because, homes are not all the same size, and bigger homes tend to sell for a higher total than the smaller homes. So when we look at the price per foot, in 2023, we'd ended at $282.92 per foot. And in 2024, we ended at $274.32 per foot for a house in Fredericksburg. So that's about a 2.83% increase in the average price of a home in the Fredericksburg city limits. So really nothing shocking, a little bit of a dip. But, we've also had a couple large new developers in town who are creating, a lot of new inventory at a pretty low price per foot, which is helping bring that price down just a little. And really, I think we probably bottomed out, and that we'll be seeing home prices in Fredericksburg kind of start ticking upwards again in 2025. Okay, let's talk about short-term rentals within the Fredericksburg city limits. As I mentioned several times through the past couple of years, the short-term rental market just really went nuts back in 21 and 22. And now people are kind of realizing that they're not necessarily the cash cow that they thought they were. Lots of folks are looking to get out of the short-term rental business just because the cap rate really isn't that great, unless you have a really cool, unique property. So looking at the data for 2024, we'd sold 54 individual properties for a total of about $36 million. And in 2023, we'd sold 46 individual properties, short-term rentals, for a total of about $39 million. So we sold 8 more individual units this year, but we're about $3 million less than the total volume sold, which tells me what's happening on a lot of these are that the successful STR units that are, really producing good income are being held onto. And a lot of what's being sold are the units that just really aren't renting super well. And you can see this in the average price of an STR as well. So for 2024, the average short-term rental resale value was $857,477. In 2024, the average short-term rental sale value was $666,973. Now, again, you have to take into account some of the STRs may have been bigger than others. So looking at that price per foot is a better barometer than that, just the whole average price, just like on a single family home. So at the end of 2023, the average price per foot for a short-term rental in Fredericksburg was $471.68 per foot. At the end of 24, the average price per foot ended at $442.19. So that's a drop of about 6.15%. And another factor in this is, from what I hear from my friends in the short-term rental management business, 2024 was just not a great year for short-term rentals across the board. A lot of people were just going overseas. It just wasn't a great year for the short-term rental business. So I really think for 2025, we may see even a little bit more of a decrease in the average price per foot for short-term rentals as more of these less profitable ones just kind of get sold back into the single-family residential market. But even with that, keep in mind, even at the reduced $442 a square foot price, that's still almost 40% higher than the single-family house would get right next door for price per foot. So there's definitely still, buyer demand for the short-term rentals in Fredericksburg. And that traditional buyer who likes coming to Fredericksburg regularly and can afford a second home that they can just rent out when they're not here, it's still really a great long-term investment for those guys. So let's move on to raw land sales in Gillespie County. Here we're seeing a reduction in volume just as we did in the residential market, but overall raw land sale prices have really been kind of ticking upwards this year. At the end of 2023, the average price per acre for the entire county, just everything combined, was $23,147 an acre. You compare that to the end of 2024, the average price per acre for Gillespie County had climbed to $25,237. So that's a bump of about 9.02%. So not bad. But as mentioned, the total volume sales is down. So for 2023, we'd sold 96 individual properties, which equates to about 3,060 acres for a total of $70,851,000. You compare that to the end of 2024, where we'd sold 91 individual properties, totaling about 2,456 acres for a total price of $61,221,000. That's a decrease in the total dollar transactions of about 13.6%. The individual property sold about 5.21%, and the number of acres that we sold in the county down about 19.73%. So less sales, but really good appreciation rates. And as always, I kind of like to break those, the raw land segments down into little smaller chunks so you can see what, a smaller tract is selling for versus a larger tract. So at the end of 2024, a 1 to 5 acre tract was selling for $55,998.94. That's up about 1.82% per acre over last year. A 6 to 10 acre tract at the end of 2024 was $40,517.61. That's up a pretty big 17.15% per acre over the previous year. 11 to 25 acre tracts, that ended at $32,019.16 per acre. Another really big increase. That was our hot one this year. That increase on the price per acre was 21.52%. 26 to 50 acres ended at $26,777.77. Real minor increase of 1.55% per acre. 50 to 100 acres or 51 to 100 acres, we ended that at $19,245.21 per acre, which was one place we saw a drop in the average price per acre. And that was a pretty good drop of 23.76% in the price per acre from the previous year. In the 101 to 250 acre category, we ended with the average price per acre of $17,298.84 per acre, 24.69% increase. And we only had one sale in Gillespie County over 250 acres this past year, sold for $14,216.60 per acre. And it was a good year for rural single-family residential homes in Gillespie County as well. So 2023, we sold about $94 million worth of real estate or homes out in rural residential real estate in Gillespie County. In 2024, we sold about $107 million. So a pretty good increase of 13.48%. And I think a little bit of that increase in both the raw land tracts and these rural residential sales can be contributed to STR buyers and developers who have either just been kind of scared or turned off by some of the city's continually changing rules and decided it's a lot easier to develop a short-term rental in the county. And, I think we'll probably see that trend continue into 2025 with more STRs kind of moving out into the county. So I guess if dull was the word I used to describe the real estate market for Gillespie County in 2024, I think probably the word I'm going to be using for 2025 is going to be exciting. Because, I think there's just a lot of optimism from everyone I'm speaking to in Fredericksburg, in pretty much all of Texas and across the country that, 2025 is going to be a much better year for real estate than the previous 2 years. We're probably not going to be back to the 2021 numbers, but I do believe it's going to be a much better market, both in the volume of sales transactions and prices. And for better or worse, I really think we're going to see appreciation rates start to climb again. And there's a ton of factors. I'm basing this on interest rates stabilizing. Inflation looks like it's kind of slowing down a little bit. We have an administration who's looking for energy independence, and that's always really good for the Texas economy. So if you're a buyer and you're on the fence, I think I would probably advise you to go ahead and get busy and find yourself a property in the next 3 to 5 months while inventory is still high. Because after that, I really think we're going to kind of start turning back towards a seller's market by the end of 2025. And of course, my crystal ball is not always accurate, but I'm feeling pretty good going into this new year, and I hope you are too. So as always, everything I've discussed is on my website at mikestarks.com under the information tab for the real estate market report. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. And as always, thanks for watching.